Welcome to Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight. My name is Pete Wright, and I'm here today with our soon-to-be vacation-minded Jeff Fried. Jeff, how are you?
I'm great, as you say, ready to head out to the wild soon, but delighted to be here with you today.
This is like senioritis. You better not phone it in.
Okay.
Today we are taking on the, I would say, deceivingly complex subject of measuring collaboration success. We have this intuitive sense of what these words mean. We certainly know how to measure in this business, and we understand contextually what collaboration looks like. But how do you know you're growing? How do you know you're succeeding and changing as a result of your efforts to work collaboratively? Christian Buckley is Chief Marketing Officer at Beezy, maker of the so-named comprehensive collaboration solution for Office 365 and SharePoint, and he is here today to share with us their Measuring Collaboration Success initiative. By taking on just these issues, Christian, welcome to Shared Insights.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. Let's start a little bit with you talking about the engine that you are building to help drive this conversation and build this community. Can you tell us about the Measuring Collaboration Success initiative?
Yeah. And I'll just kind of contrary to your statement, it's I don't think of it as mine or ours at Beezy. I mean, this is something that, like a lot of these types of initiatives, fell out of conversation sitting at an event. In fact, we were sitting down. I'm trying to remember where this one was. It may have been sitting in Seattle, but at another event, just with these SharePoint conferences, and a number of people just sitting in the speaker room, so MVPs and other SharePoint collaboration experts sitting there. And we had kind of a disagreement of the definition of collaboration. And I think it was one of those conversations where everybody was right, but everybody was coming from a different perspective. And so we said, well, what is that kind of shared description of what is collaboration? And I think we all kind of agreed to disagree, recognizing that different organizations have different collaboration needs and they'll approach it in different ways. So the initiative is truly, I think there's 25, 24 people that are part of the panel. And Jeff, of course, agreed to participate. But it's a cross-section of the SharePoint Office 365 ecosystem. So ISVs, consultants, customers that are participating. And it's really threefold, the initiative, the purpose. One is to understand that and come to an agreement on that shared understanding of what collaboration is and what does it need to be successful. So what's that definition of success? And then the second phase, the second leg of the stool there is then how do you measure that? If we agree of how to define success, now what are the right ways to measure that thing? And then the third leg is to talk about, we're not yet kind of in this phase, but then if you have it defined, you are properly measuring it. Now, what's the right way, the best practices to go and deploy that? So what can be shared from what we've learned from the first two phases to help organizations that are, just building out their environments, their infrastructure, to make sure that they are on the path for success going forward.
I wasn't in the room when the heated agreement broke out.
I like that, heated agreement, yes.
But I was in another room with you where we repeated such a discussion / argument. That was, I think, at either an SP Fest or SPS Redmond. And it's been remarkable to me how this is it's a I know it when I see it kind of subject.
Yep.
There's success, which is sort of a mixed bag because there's been so much hype around collaboration. I'm really excited to see us grappling with, what does it really mean? Because I see not that many people, fewer failing, but most are flailing. And I'm sure Pete can figure out a way to say that in Latin, but fewer failing, most are flailing. How's that?
That's such an interesting concept because, it seems like collaboration, we should just get this as human creatures. We're sort of built to collaborate. Is it one of those things where, and I'm sort of looking for your insights, Christian, after this first survey as you've started collecting data, is it one of those issues where we thought we knew what we knew and just were operating on an assumption of that we all agreed?
Well, it really, again, depends on the perspective that you're coming from. And when you think of collaboration and coming from the SharePoint perspective, like I actually got some feedback from somebody who's saying, hey, well, you completely forgot to include or make the central point to your surveys the fact that email is still the number one collaboration tool in organizations. I think we actually do call that out. But you ask the majority of people when you ask them, like, how do you define collaboration? They don't include email within that description. It's interesting, just depending on the perspective that you're coming from, whether you are being successful or not, whether you feel that you have it adequately defined and know what your goals are and what that success looks like, and then how far along that path you are. You have other people. So just like there's the collaboration and the communication standpoint, and there's just so many different tools and technologies in that spectrum. I'm sure, Jeff, I mean, we could get into a whole other discussion about whether you're truly collaborating around knowledge and information assets if you can't then find that information again. Is that collaboration if you're just pumping data into a system and never getting data back out?
Of course, a write-only memory is not very useful.
It's not very collaborative.
Well, and then how many tools find a technological solution where they just sort of append a chat tool on top of a document-based model and call that collaboration?
Well, I think that's part of the problem with needing to have a definition and recognizing that different organizations may have different variations of that definition. But I think we can generally agree, and I think this is where we came to after looking at the results of the first survey, is that collaboration is two or more people coming together to accomplish something in its simplest definition. And so, this idea of being able to use a file share, one of these, web-based file share platforms, but alone, that is not collaboration. Although you can leverage those tools to go and collaborate with other individuals. But again, that's why an organization that is looking at leveraging collaboration technology to increase their ability to innovate, to be able to decrease the barriers of sharing information across work groups, across teams, across geographic space, it may need to be more than just file sharing. There's different aspects of that. And so that needs to play into, okay, if we as an organization define collaboration as these multiple layers, then what is success, and are we being successful in our ability to share across these tools?
Another thing that really struck me from the first survey was that nearly all organizations were doing some form of collaboration and had a collaboration initiative, but only 40% had any kind of goals for what that meant or was to do. And in the community, there's a general agreement that there's no single set of goals for collaboration that, there's no one size fits all. It's really about alignment with your business goals. But the degree to which people are not doing it now is kind of startling to me.
Well, I think and then you have to, I think, separate and talk about it at a team level, a local level versus across the enterprise. And I think it's fascinating. I know, Jeff, you've heard me say this and I've presented on this, but going back, when I got involved with SharePoint was back in 2005. and I ended up joining Microsoft back in 2006. And the surveys that were done at how people were using SharePoint back in that era, it was a very document-centric, team-centric solution. And you look at the history of SharePoint. I mean, that's really how it came about and grew so quickly, is because a small team might have been frustrated with trying to get a solution in place that they needed to meet their specific needs, and they kind of fought with IT to own this thing. And so they kind of went around IT, deployed SharePoint, which is this quote unquote free technology that was part of their enterprise agreement. So they already had it. They went and deployed it locally and started using it. And at some point, IT was then forced to support this platform, and it kind of grew that way, like a lot of other technologies have kind of grown that way. However, if you look at surveys that are more recent, it's astounding. Look at that trend to where now SharePoint is viewed as this enterprise-wide, business-critical technology and platform. Like people at the highest levels understand to some degree what SharePoint is or can be, and then support that. However, having said all that, going and looking at the results of the first survey, I think it proves out what a lot of us felt already, was that where it was deemed successful, where collaboration was deemed successful, was still at that team level. And I know that there are some folks out there who will disagree that collaboration technology has largely failed at the enterprise level. I think that it's overwhelmingly the success is at the small scale other than the enterprise scale. And that has a lot just to do with the fact that, again, even within a large enterprise, different business units, different teams have different needs and are looking at the success criteria differently at the small team level than at the enterprise.
Well, and then there's this question of effectiveness, though. I mean, on one hand, that that result doesn't surprise me really at all. Going back to your the definition of collaboration, right? Successful collaboration, two or more people coming together to accomplish something that's a goal. It feels like if you're if you're accomplishing a small team goal that fits into the larger kind of initiative of the organization, that could still be considered success. Why is it so important that we assess this larger sort of enterprise-wide, we'll call it maybe a logjam in collaboration technology?
As the movement from sort of team level to broader levels of communication and collaboration progresses, I think it's important to know where things are and track sort of that maturity. About a decade ago, I helped form a thing called the AppDex Alliance, which was a similar look at that time, though it was really application performance on the web, because I was CTO of a firm, a web management firm called Empirics. Websites at the time were going from relatively small properties to much, much bigger infrastructure that a lot more people touched culturally. And I think there's something analogous happening. There's nothing wrong with collaborating in small teams. In fact, that's where most work gets done. Mm-hmm. But being able to make these connections that are broader and, if you will, further afield from the people that you already know is where there's a lot of value. And I think looking at practices and what makes that work is very timely.
Yeah, it's and so I agree. That a lot of the value is derived at that team level. What a lot of collaboration platforms are sold to the executive team on is that enterprise class. The fact that it can go above and beyond and move across the multiple small teams, the small organizations, the business units, and leverage the knowledge across the enterprise. And I think that by not understanding how an organization collaborates, the differences, the nuances between those business units, and understanding what the common denominators are between those groups and leveraging that. So what the mistake that organizations make is that they go out there and say, well, this worked for this team, or this is the default configuration, and then deploy it out broadly to everybody and say, these are the 4 tools that you can use. Everybody must use these tools. And what, that has just proven to fail again and again and again. That without having a more complex understanding of what the organization is trying to do at the enterprise level, then it fails the needs of both the small team and the large organization. I don't know if it all makes sense in my head as I go through this. I've thought a lot about this, but I go back to the results that we see. Again, I don't think there was anything that surprised me in the results. It's always interesting to look at the anecdotal information that, because we asked not just yes and no and multiple choice questions in this survey, which, by the way, anybody can go and download the results. You can find it on our website at beezy.net and search on measuring collaboration success, and you'll find it.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to that. Just as you're talking about it, who are you asking? Do you have a preponderance of responses from certain roles in the organization?
It's across all different levels. The majority of people who are responding that generally participate in these circles are more at the admin, IT pro or manager levels. It's people who have some ownership over these tools and systems, but it's more at that business unit team level than it is across the enterprise.
Well, and that I think is a question I'd love you to reflect on a little bit as you've gotten your hands in some of the data. Do you think there is a difference between what these admins or IT pros or sort of managers of collaboration tools are looking for and the demands of the people who are doing the work and what they seek from their collaboration tools?
Well, I think that, definitely there's going to be some differences there. And we, this not being per se a scientific survey going in, this is a community-driven initiative, and it's
Sure.
more about the anecdotal, information that comes out of it. There's some great data there. If we were to go and dive into the detail and look at the answers of end users, power users, business decision makers versus admins, I think you would start to see some differences there. And I think that it's logical that people that own the systems are going to have different requirements. They're going to be more concerned with the governance and ongoing management of the data, the compliance issues behind the various tools and systems. Whereas people that are down at the ground level that just are in there using it, they're thinking about productivity and the search experience and having the capabilities that they need to work with people internally or externally, and the ease of use of those systems, the user experience.
Yeah, that's sort of our perennial favorite conversation, right? It's how well does it generalize versus how well does it individualize?
Right.
Yeah.
As part of this initiative, I took a look at, I always go back to my academic roots, right? And there's a group at Cornell that's been studying collaboration and measurement of collaboration for 3 or 4 years that do not take the IT perspective. They're coming from the business school. And it was what this survey and this sort of initiative is finding is remarkably consistent. It's not that different across different audiences.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's for people that now I've never been a data scientist, and I've participated in a number of these kinds of community initiatives, and it would be fantastic if we were able to go through and as part of that kind of demographic refining of answers, even direct people that are on the business decision maker executive side towards one survey, those that are the IT pro admin towards a second survey, and the end users to a third survey, to get those different perspectives. Ask some similar or the same questions, but go off in another direction to get that refining data. And it's just not that kind of survey. But again, I go back to, I think, as you said, you're seeing a lot of this similar results that are out of this, because I think that there's just some things that we based on our interactions out in the community, we just know to be true and have been validated through the answers from again and again the people that we talk to and the people that are responding to this survey. It's I don't think there was anything new that came out of this, but it's it puts some data around it and has some great stories in that raw data. It's always fascinating to go and look at, and just allow people to kind of dig through that raw data.
You kicked us off by sort of walking through the 3 points of this initiative, right? Understanding what collaboration is, how do we measure it, and what's the right way to deploy it. Where are you in the process? You mentioned we haven't made it to phase 3. Where are you in the process? What's next, and what are you looking to get out of it?
So the results for the first survey, so how do organizations define successful collaboration, those are available. Those are out there. There's a white paper that you can go and download, and that's what I mentioned, and we'll provide the link within the notes here, but out on the Beezy website. And the second phase, which is how do you then monitor and measure collaboration success. So that survey is open right now, and it's open to anybody in the community. I always like to point out with the say this again and again, that this is not a lead generation activity. There is no sales or marketing activity going to happen because you respond to the survey. It's completely anonymous. We are not tracking you for this. We are genuinely interested in people, their feedback and their experiences. And so we'll share the link for the open survey, and it's going to be running through this entire month. At the end of that survey period, if you would like to get the raw results of the data, you can include your email, and just as I did with the first results, I will send those out to everyone who responded to the survey and would like to get the raw data, after which I delete all those emails. I don't hold on to any of that data. And then about a week or so later, I'll have a white paper, which will be similar to this first one, where there will be all of the survey results as well as responses from the panel. So I think there's some great insights that you get, not just from looking at the data, but then this panel of 24 experts providing their feedback, whether they agree with the way people respond, and then kind of sharing some of their own richer insights into their experiences. And again, people from ISVs, from consulting companies. I've got somebody from a major university as a SharePoint admin that's part of the panel. So we've got some great perspectives on this data around how people are looking at the monitoring and the metrics around what is a successful collaboration. So, and then I think end of August, end of the month, we're going to launch the third and final survey, which will go into, again, how do you now successfully deploy and implement these best practices.
Let's talk just a little bit about the panel. Jeff, from your perspective, as a member of the panel, you join some voices on this panel that we've had on this show. In fact, what's your take? Why is BA Insight a supporting sponsor of this?
BA Insight's sponsoring it from the standpoint of my time and also lending out as much to encouraging people to take this survey, because first, I have a personal interest and passion in this area from the background that I mentioned, and also as a technologist, I really want to see people successful with the kind of tools that we build, and that requires not just the technology, but the culture and the practices. There's also a connection that we'll see if it comes up in the survey or not, a connection between findability and effective search, which is what BA Insight is all about, and collaboration success. And a connection, BA Insight recently launched a new smart analytics product specifically to look at content consumption, search effectiveness, portal effectiveness, to help with measurement. So there's a lot of connections to this initiative. Now, I'll also say that being one of the panelists that Christian has assembled, and I know, Christian, you'll quickly say this is not you, but you've put a lot of energy and leadership into it, which I admire. It's like a little mini case study of where collaboration works and doesn't. People have different opinions, different views that end up being a loose agreement, and different amounts of energy and time, and somehow it all comes together.
It is a fantastic initiative, and you say, Christian, that you've learned nothing new, but clearly you are building some new assumptions for all of us, and helping others come together to at least see some new patterns is a great value to the community. So, I assume our call to action here is please take these surveys, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah, please, and we'll be sending this out. There's multiple blog posts, and it's out on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, kind of all the channels. But again, you can find it on Beezy.net, and we'll we'll share the direct link to this. But yeah, please share your thoughts there. There are a couple open-ended questions where there's an opportunity for you to provide a lot of detail, around your specific implementation, and where you're seeing value or not seeing value, and how you're measuring those things. So be as verbose as you would like in your responses, and all of that does feed into the results.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this, you've got your headphones in, you're probably on a train, you're on a bus, you're commuting to work, scroll down in the show notes. I'm even going to shout it in all caps. Take the survey, just tap that link and be a part of this initiative to bring greater insights to collaboration success. Thank you so much, Christian. Where else should we send people to learn more about you and what you're doing?
Well, you can always go to our website at beezy.net, beezy.net. I blog in a number of places. I write for a number of sites, but you can most often find me on buckleyplanet.com as well as on the Beezy website.
That is the truth. You're everywhere.
I am everywhere.
It doesn't take I actually had to turn around and make sure you weren't behind me. Thank you so much for your time and attention on this, Christian. Hope you'll come back to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Jeff, final words from you, sir.
Take the survey and tell us your stories, because I think that collaboration is evolving and changing, and we're all part of it. So watch the links in the show, and also there's some blogs around this on the BA Insight website as well.
And we will put some links to the show notes in the show notes to those as well. So great resources. Again, scroll down, tap those links, and that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, for downloading, for supporting the show. Don't forget, you can listen anytime right over at bainsight.com or subscribe for free in your podcast application of choice. On behalf of Jeff and Christian, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next time on Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight.